Hey, we're back. We are the Wrestling Boys. I am Logan.
I'm Goose.
And we are here to give our review of the Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble. This was a good Rumble.
Yes, it was.
This was a good Rumble.
Again, there was some disappointing things, like mostly Sami Zayn not being in the Royal Rumble match.
Yeah.
I mean, if you recall from our last show where we gave our predictions for the Royal Rumble,
I thought
we were high on Sami Zayn winning the Rumble, and he wasn't even in it.
But I mean,
what made it worse is that getting down to like just the last few entrants, we were like, okay, we got to get Cody and Sammy, but then it's like number 29, who enters but
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul.
While no hate to Logan Paul for being in the Rumble. I mean, he had that incredible spot with Ricochet. That was that
was insane.
Definitely a holy shit moment if there ever was one.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Still, it reminds me of like I think it was the 2014 Rumble when it was like number 30 was Rey Mysterio, and even though nobody hates Rey Mysterio, I mean, how could you? But it's just the fact Daniel Bryan wasn't in the match.
Yep.
Same thing here. The only reason I don't like Logan Paul was in it is because it wasn't Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn. It was kind of the interesting part was they started out with the men's 30-man Rumble,
which I kind of appreciated because I got to see most of the Royal Rumble match before I had to go to work.
Yeah, that's true. He had to work like right in the middle of it.
Yeah, I got to see up till like
when Cody Rhodes
till Cody Rhodes entered. So I didn't get to see the last of the match. I had to watch that the day after, but it was still nice opening the show with it.
Some things that were really, really interesting. One was they pretty much stuck to the roster.
Mm-hmm. There was a surprise. There was like no returns.
No big returns. None.
I mean, of course, there were some where it was like, oh, such and such has been out of action for a few months. So it was like, I guess, small returns, but nobody like coming back from another time in another company, or no Forbidden Door entrance, no Legends.
There was one
save for Booker T.
Booker
T did enter.
He was the only legend that entered. He was a little rusty,
but then again, he hasn't been a full-time wrestler for years. So.
For years, we still got a book.
Spinaroonie.
We still got a Spinaroonie, and we got a book.
It was funny. Exactly, what they did here was, I think, the exact same thing that happened in like, was it the 2002 Rumble where he does his shtick, does a Spinaroonie, and immediately gets eliminated.
Right.
So,
but they pretty much stuck to the roster, which I'm not disappointed at. I mean, we didn't. I thought for sure the Big E would be back, but he wasn't.
That was another one I was expecting to see towards the end. But.
Which only means that he's not medically cleared yet. And let's all be honest. When you get dropped on your head and you break your neck and you almost die, I think it's going to take a while for you to kind of.
I know what they're going to do for Big E's return.
What are they going to do?
Raw after WrestleMania, show starts. Oh, something wherever city they're doing. Don't you dare. That's going to get huge pop. I'm calling it. Even if he's cleared beforehand, that is when you bring him back.
Most likely. But the men's Rumble match lasted for, I think, almost close to
let me see. I
think
have the card open on here.
It was really well done. Of course, my original...
Yeah, it was an hour and like 11 minutes.
My original pick to win the Rumble, Cody Rhodes, won the Rumble.
Did win.
Which I think...
He was the obvious choice. They'd been setting that up for God knows how long. So, no surprise, Cody enters number 30 and eventually wins the match.
Right.
But one thing I really want to talk about is Gunther. Enters number 1 and is elimination 29.
Yep.
Lasted the entire match.
Yep.
And it was an interesting thing they did this year. It was a very good year for number 1 entrance because, as we just said, Gunther lasted the entire match. And they've got to be setting him up for like a world title run sometime soon, because you don't just have a wrestler last the entire Royal Rumble without setting him up for, I don't know, grander heights.
Yeah.
And then in the women's, which happened later on in the show, Rhea Ripley entered number 1 and won the match.
She won the match. As a matter of fact, Liv Morgan, who was number 2, she lasted the entire... In fact, she was number 29 to get eliminated. We'll talk more about that because I want to kind of like do this in order. But yeah, you're right. It was a really good day for number one entrance in the Rumble. And I kept saying the entire time, I said, they're trying to showcase Gunther because I think you were right. I think they want to put him on a run. He's the current Intercontinental Champion.
How long has he been Intercontinental Champion? He's had that title for months.
For quite a while.
Check real quick.
And you know, so
Gunther. Where is he?
But overall, the men's Rumble was really good. You know, like I said, I mean, Booker T was in there, I think, all of about 20, 25 seconds and was promptly dispatched. So he was your legend. And I think that was pretty interesting. But I mean, there are a lot of rumors flying around for the Rumble. I mean, some people said The Rock was going to make a return. Didn't see it. I was one of those people that said The Rock's not coming. I said The Rock is not going to make a
Yeah, I didn't really think so either. And just to clarify what I was just asking about how long Gunther has been Intercontinental Champion, it's been just under 8 months.
8 months. Which is a good run.
Going back to The Rock, I didn't really expect him to come back.
No.
But then again, I wouldn't have been surprised if all of a sudden we heard, you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that.
And I think people are also setting this up, like, people are so high on The Rock returning. I personally don't get like, we're going to get like Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania now.
Yeah,
Something like that. Which,
we're not
going to happen. We already got two things set up.
That's a WWE 2K event. That's the only place where that's going to happen. The Rock versus Roman, because I don't see Dwayne leaving his Hollywood, you know, his Hollywood lifestyle right now to come and spend 3 or 4 months.
I don't even think he would.
WWE.
He would come back for that long. I think most he would do is like a one-off appearance, which is what most legends do.
Yeah, but didn't see Riddle, so Riddle's still out. Well, on his what does they call it now? His medical. What was it? It wasn't that he wasn't medically cleared. He was like suspended for. The words escape me, but apparently he didn't pass the drug test.
Okay. So for a wellness policy violation.
Yep, wellness policy violation. He's still out. But it was refreshing to see the men's Rumble open the show. And of course, you know, it was.
One of my favorite moments in the match was, I think it was something like number 14. Brock Lesnar entered the match, and of course, due to Rumble's past, we're all dreading this because he usually comes in and eliminates like 10 people.
He was like 12 or 13 or 14, somewhere in there.
Somewhere around that. But he gets in there and surprisingly only got like 1 or 2 eliminations.
He got 3, I think.
Before being knocked out by Bobby Lashley.
And they have a great rivalry brewing.
That's another thing I believe they're setting up for WrestleMania is Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. And oh my God, I screamed so loud when Brock Lesnar was eliminated.
Everybody screamed.
I was like, yes!
Everybody. Matter of fact, what's funny was Brock tore up the place after he got eliminated. It was like
he was beating up the other entrance and all that.
You know, Baron Corbin comes out there before Baron can even get in the ring. F5 on the floor, bang. And of course,
oh yeah, and I think Baron entered the match and was like promptly eliminated within like 30 seconds
because he got F5'd outside the ring, and then he got picked up and thrown in the ring, and everybody's like, there you go. But which, interestingly enough, I mean, from what I hear, Baron Corbin is that kind of guy who doesn't mind, you know, something like that happening.
Doesn't mind being the quick elimination.
No, he doesn't mind. He's he's. From what I hear, he's a really, really cool dude. But yeah, it was no surprise when Cody Rhodes was announced the winner or had won, and we were like, yeah, this is they've been trying to set this up for WrestleMania, and because what they really want is Cody versus Roman for the titles. So, but
Next match they had on the card after the men's
it was
Rumble
it was the pitch black match
the pitch black match
with L.A. Knight and
with
Bray Wyatt.
LA Knight and Bray Wyatt. Now, first off, before we even get into this, I thought the way they marketed this was kind of funny. They kept saying this is going to be the first ever Mountain Dew pitch black match. And I'm like, why the hell are you calling it the first ever pitch black match? This is going to be the only pitch black match. It's like they didn't market the zombie lumberjack matches. This is the first zombie lumberjack match.
I think because the zombie lumberjack match was something that was last minute.
I'll be completely honest. I do not understand the hate for that match. It is comedy.
It's comedy gold. I mean, it's so funny. It's so funny. But this was an interesting little gimmick match. So it's done in black light where everything's
so
lit up.
A more apt term for the match, if they were to continue doing this, would be like a black light match.
Yeah.
Which I don't see why they would continue doing it, but if they did, that would be because the best part about this was the Bray Wyatt had that what was it, like black light makeup or something on, which was super cool.
It was really cool, and then of course after he won, and he goes into the corner, he comes out and he's got a mask on, and he's red on his face. He looked like a demon or something, and it was like, and it drags LA Knight all the way up to the.
Up to the ramp, and then they had Uncle Howdy, who jumped off.
It looked like he did a coffin drop, which was
that's what I was thinking. It's like he was standing up on top of some scaffold, and then did like a coffin drop onto LA Knight. Which, interestingly enough, because of that whole spot, people are now speculating Uncle Howdy's got to be Shane McMahon, because as we know, Shane McMahon is known to do crazy stunts like that.
No, I don't think
it still would just make sense for it to be Bo Dallas.
Yeah, I don't think it's Shane McMahon. I think they're gonna. The idea that it would be Shane just doesn't.
I want to
doesn't read right to
note something interesting, that in the age of where everything is getting leaked out beforehand, and without knowledge of the company, it's still amazing how nobody knows who Uncle Howdy is. So I just love how that is still such a secret, even though most days it's like somebody appears and we automatically would know who it is because somebody's posted about it on social media.
If he's going to do something like a coffin drop, the first person you think of is Darby Allin. But then Darby
Allin's with AEW.
And he's like 180 pounds, and so there's no way that he can be Uncle Howdy, because Uncle Howdy looks like he's about 250. I mean, he looks like he's pretty massive. I won't say massive, but he's got bulk. Then, of course, after the match, we see the Firefly Funhouse gang.
That was super
That
cool.
was creepy. That was creepy, and it just added more and more to the premonition, the
character.
Yep, Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt Six, and who was Uncle Howdy, and who are the rest of these guys. I'm sorry, I still believe that the Buzzard, Mercy the Buzzard, is Curtis Axel. I still think it's Curtis Axel.
That would be a good one, because, again, if Uncle Howdy was Bray Wyatt, then you'd have a subtle B-team reunion, I guess.
Bo Dallas?
Yeah, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel.
Yeah. I think it'd be pretty cool. Then the next match we got.
The next match after the Pitch Black was.
I think it was a women's match.
Yeah, it was the Raw Women's Title match. Bianca Belair retained against Alexa Bliss.
I'm sorry. Can I just say I really wanted another 3 minutes of this match?
Yeah, it was a little short, especially for a title match. It only lasted about 7 or so minutes.
Right.
And for one of your big titles, it doesn't make sense. But then again, they also have to do 2 whole Royal Rumbles, so that's 2+ hours all by itself. So of course they're already going to be strapped for time. But again, I agree. It should have been.
Would have loved another 3 minutes, because you have 2 of your big women,
2 of your top women's wrestlers who are capable of putting on a show-stopping,
a really good show,
15 or so minute match.
And then of course at the end of the match we got Uncle Howdy coming and talking to Alexa Bliss, and it's like, okay, where is this going? Again, there's more and more of this that is like this is like
slowly unraveling.
Slowly unraveling, and it still brings up a lot of the Fiend elements into it. And of course, like I said earlier, Bray Wyatt has, after the Pitch Black match, he has pretty much said that the Fiend is done. We're not bringing him back. And I was like, oh, really? I don't know how. I don't really. I believe that just a little bit. I think they're going to keep that in the back pocket, just like.
Well, it's probably going to be like they're going to do something like how they do it with the Demon
Yeah.
for Finn Balor, where it's going to be like, oh, they're going to set up a really intense storyline between Bray Wyatt and such, and then it's like, oh, WrestleMania, here comes Bray Wyatt, now comes the Fiend,
Right.
you know. Then it's going to be like, shit's going to go down, you
Yeah.
know.
But
So I think that's what they're going to do.
but-
I don't think they're completely done with the
I
Fiend.
don't think they're
It's
completely
been
done with the Fiend
such
either.
it's been too much of a popular character
Yeah.
to just toss in the bin like that. You know?
like I said, they're probably just going to keep it in their back pocket and probably use it sparingly. So like, oh my gosh, it's Bray Wyatt. It's the Fiend. He's coming. It's kind of like what the Three Faces of Foley.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just it all kind of works. And then what was the next match was?
Oh, my phone keeps turning off when I.
I think it was the Women's Rumble.
Yes, next match was the Women's Rumble, as we said. Rhea Ripley
Won.
won the match.
She was she was part of 3 women that were left, which was Liv Morgan, who was number 2, and Asuka, I think, came in somewhere maybe midway through the match, and she had introduced her new character, I think Kana.
So, regarding like returns and stuff like that, I believe this was definitely the superior Rumble.
Yeah.
As far as wrestling, I'd still give it to the men's, but this one you had a couple big returns, like
Chelsea Green,
Tegan who
Knox,
was promptly eliminated. sadly.
Tegan Knox.
Also, Natalia apparently had been out for a while and had
several
made her
months.
return. But the most interesting return in this entire match, or it was a legend appearance. It was kind of odd because it's like all of a sudden you hear, "You're not enough for me," and it's okay. Everybody knows, okay, it's Michelle McCool. But we had seen her out in the crowds. But
Yep.
so I don't know if something happened with, I don't know, like Beth Phoenix didn't want to be in the match because we saw Beth Phoenix earlier in the night during
the men's Rumble.
during the men's Rumble match. So when you see Beth Phoenix, it's like, okay, she's going to be an entrant in the Rumble.
Right.
But then it ended up being Michelle McCool. So I don't know if Beth backed out or what. And so then Michelle just hopped the barricade, entered the match, lasted about like, I don't know, 10 or so minutes.
10, 15 minutes. She did pretty good. She was pretty good. And I mean, it was interesting because you were asking me, well, how is this possible? I said, and apparently during the Royal Rumble, they always have extra wrestlers in the back.
As part of like a contingency plan.
A contingency plan in case something happens where a certain wrestler can't go, and so they've got extra wrestlers in the back that will make an appearance. And I want to pretty much say that I think what happened was Michelle McCool was probably part of that contingency plan. But rather than just sit
in the back for the entire night, she was, no, I'm going to go sit out in the front row and watch the show.
And she was sitting next to her kids when this happened, so she was probably like, "Oh, I'm gonna, if I'm not going to be in the Rumble, I'm gonna go sit out in the front row with my kids and watch it from there, and it'll be great." And then all of a sudden, her music, and you could see it on her face, her music popped, and she's like, and she looked up like, "Oh," and so
I'm in the match,
and she basically just took off her jacket, her sweatshirt jacket, her hoodie, I guess, whatever it is, and took it off, and she was like ready to go. She's like, it wasn't necessarily wrestling gear.
Yeah, it wasn't her like typical wrestling gear,
but she had like she had boots on. She was able to. She moved pretty well for what she was wearing, and she went in there and just and started hauling ass. And what's funny was she got out. She came in from the front row, stands on the barricade. It was like just one of these. Hops down and then just slides right in and starts beating on people, and it was like, it was impressive. It was like, it was just one of those moments where like, even Cole was like, Michelle McCool, she's like sitting in the front row behind us.
And regarding returns, one interesting thing they did not do was, I think since the Women's Rumble began, what was it, 2018, I believe, first year they did it, think Molly Holly has always been
yep.
an entrant in the match, but she was not.
She
in
was
it
not
this
there
year.
this year. Other notable women that weren't there, Naomi wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
We thought for sure she would. Apparently, we thought for sure she had made amends with.
Yeah,
WWE.
that's
She
what
wasn't there.
a lot of people were. Again,
Anticipated.
spoiling this, if you haven't seen the Rumble, Nia Jax had returned at number 30, which a lot of people were upset about because Nia Jax has a reputation of not being the best of wrestlers.
Yeah, she's not
being quite
safe.
dangerous.
We were,
and also because it wasn't Naomi, because she was one of the most anticipated returns, and when
Yeah.
it's not Naomi coming in at 30,
I mean,
whoever it is going to be booed, you know.
But what was interesting was Nia Jax kind of got, first of all, her music popped 10 seconds before she was supposed to go out, which I thought was weird. And then,
Yeah, that's what a lot of people were talking about. Saying, joking, Nia Jax is so bad she even botched her entrance.
but the interesting thing was that she kind of got a mixed pop because people were, oh yeah, like, hey, wait a minute, she's 30. Oh, boo.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess a lot of the crowd was happy to see Nia back. Just
yeah.
not in the position she returned at.
We kind of were like sitting there like hoping that, let's hope that she's like improved on her skills.
And we
since
didn't
she's
get
been
to
gone.
see a whole
And
lot
we really
in the
didn't.
match. But again, we'll just have to see if she's gotten better or if
Yeah.
she's still the same
Still
old Nia.
Same old Nia. She looks like she's dropped some weight. Not saying that's bad or good. I'm just saying it looks like she's gotten in better
Just
shape.
an observation.
She's gotten in better shape. And she's probably been just preparing to make a return to come back. Of course, immediately she gets, like, within like 5 minutes, she gets dumped outside. And we got to see Piper Niven have her actual name. She didn't come on as Dewdrop.
Thank God.
Thank God. Got to see Roxanne Perez, who is the NXT Women's Champion. There was no Ronda Rousey. And then
Interesting that
Shayna Baszler came out at number 5, which I was kind of surprised.
another interesting thing they did was they had a whole mini storyline in the match with Damage Control.
Oh,
where
yeah.
They had Io Sky, Dakota Kai, and Bailey all in the match, and they were just eliminating people
left
teaming
and
up.
right. The Becky Lynch came out and they start beating on her. She starts beating on them, and they were all eliminated within minutes. As soon as one went over, the other one went over, and then blah blah blah. It was kind of cool to just kind of see that they're going to build up that rivalry between Becky Lynch and Bailey because this ought to be really good. I think they're going to set that up for
WrestleMania.
It ought to be really, really good. But again, they pretty much the men pretty much stuck to the roster. The women were like.
You had a nice mix of their roster
Xia Li
and then NXT appearances and a couple returns and legends.
It was nice to see some of these women out there wrestling against. I have no problem with Rhea Ripley winning. Of course, she immediately says, "I want Charlotte Flair," which
I'm perfectly fine with. That's bound to be a great match.
I think that'll be a fabulous match. And of course, we're going to see the two of them like jaw jack each other. In the next few months to just kind of prep
build up their storyline,
pump up this match. But this is, and again, they've wrestled before, and I think Charlotte beat Rhea last time to win the title. So this ought to be interesting. We should really look forward to these matches coming up to WrestleMania in a few months.
And after the Women's Rumble, we had the main event.
Yay!
It was the Universal Championship match.
Universal WWE Heavyweight Champion.
Roman Reigns retained against Kevin Owens.
Owens.
Match itself was, of course, fantastic. You got two of, I'd say, the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
Obviously put on a great show, but what everybody's talking about is the post-match angle.
Yes. This was good.
Which is all-time great stuff.
Great storyline.
So after the match, it was like a bloodline beatdown of
Kevin Owens.
And of course, you got Sammy, who's got strong ties to Kevin Owens. They've been side by side pretty much their
They've
entire
been friends,
careers.
they've been enemies.
But you've also got Sammy, who's been in the bloodline for months, and he's
trying to really
he's
show
one of them. He's Sammy Uso.
Yeah.
And so then they're all like, Sammy, you gotta be one of us. You gotta beat up Kevin Owens. But Sammy's like, no, I can't do it. I can't.
I mean, the
my
whole
best friend.
The whole setup is that not only did they beat down Kevin Owens, they handcuffed him to the ropes, and so they were just having free for all, just shot after shot after shot, and Roman was going to hit him with a chair, and Sammy's like, no, you don't need this. This is beneath you. You don't need to do this.
And then he was like, you do it.
You would do it, and it's like,
and it was interesting the way they set this up, the chair shot, because as we all know, it strongly mirrored that of the Shield back in 2014.
It did.
The whole Roman looking off, and then you have Seth Rollins, now Sami Zayn coming up from the side, hitting him in the back.
Yeah.
Great callback.
Great build-up.
It was so dramatic.
Well,
it was
really
incredible
well done.
how they did it.
I mean, I think,
which has left us wondering because, of course, Cody Rhodes wins the Royal Rumble. He's got a match against Roman at WrestleMania. But you can't not do anything with this.
Well,
this is like the hottest of hot storyline right now. You can't just not build this up to a championship.
Here's the interesting thing, because one of our viewers left us a comment on our predictions, on our prediction show or prediction segment, and basically said that he believes Sammy and Kevin will beat the Usos for the tag champs, the tag titles. Now, I can now see that kind of happening. It's kind of interesting because also part of that post match was, as soon as Sammy, hit Roman with the chair, Jey Uso, who has been sticking up for him the last, several weeks, I think since Survivor Series, has basically say, why, we're brothers, and of course, Jimmy kicks him in the face, and then Solo gives him the thumb, and they start beating down on him, and they tell Jay, it's your turn, you need to do it, and Jay
walked out.
And he walked out, and it's like, oh my gosh, this, we kind of sat there, we were like, is this the end of the Usos?
The end of the bloodline, the end of the Usos.
Yeah. And I think even after the on that previous or on that following SmackDown, Sami Zayn came up to Jay outside the arena and said, "Hey, I want to thank you for sticking up for me. I'm sorry about what happened." And it's like, and that's all. It was basically, it's like, I mean, this was kind of a thing where it's like, where does Sammy's loyalties lie? Do they lie with the bloodline? And it was interesting because I knew kind of weeks ago when Roman freaked out and basically just got in Sammy's face and said, "Do you want to be the head of the table? Do you want to be the head of the table? You want to be the tribal chief? Do you want to be the tribal?" Sammy's like, "What the fuck? Get back, get away!" And you kind of like saw, okay, this is gonna boil over. This is gonna come to something that's really, really gonna give us something really juicy at Royal Rumble. Of course it did. And it basically just showed that Sammy was like, I'm loyal to the bloodline, but I couldn't do this.
But I'm also loyal to Kevin Owens.
But there was only so much. It was like, again, kick after kick after kick to Kevin Owens, and you're like, Jesus Christ. And it was, and Kevin Owens is just kind of like hanging there. And you're kind of like, give him the chair shot, and you're like, what? He's
obviously down now. He can't do any more.
He can't defend himself. So it was. I think they just showed that there was just only so much that Sami Zayn was going to sit there and accept as far as what he was going to do with this, and it's going to build into
probably Elimination Chamber or I think is one of the other pay-per-views they're going to have in between now and not Survivor Series, WrestleMania.
Yeah, I would like to see, Sammy in the Elimination Chamber match. I'd like to see what would happen there. It would probably set up for a a chance for him to face Roman for a title.
Mm-hmm.
They've been talking about for months splitting the title.
Like,
So
I was
off of
wondering
Roman.
since if they're going to keep up this the 2-night WrestleManias, if
Right.
they were going to have Roman versus Sammy for the WWE Championship, and then Roman versus Cody for the Universal, or
Yeah.
if they were going to do something like that, or have a winner-take-all type deal
I
at
think
Mania.
there are so many options they could go with right now that I think would all be good for WWE. But again, from what one of our viewers said, the idea of Sammy and Kevin beating the Usos, especially now, for the titles, I think is maybe just about the right time. And I think this might happen at the Elimination Chamber also.
Yeah.
Because I think it's coming up in just a few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's
so-
later this month.
So right now, this is a great time for WWE because they've got the road to WrestleMania, or they likes to say the roads to WrestleMania, and really be able to, because they need a big WrestleMania moment to really hit right about this time. So.
Pardon